Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Lost and Found podcast. This is your host, Amanda. What's up? This is our part 2 of the New Year's Eve end of the year reflections. Last episode 112, I kind of got into all of the catch-up stuff because it had been about 3 months since I had done a solo episode and caught you up on what was going on in my own personal life and behind the scenes of the show. We are not going to dive into that in this episode. This episode is going to be purely dedicated to the New Year's Eve resolution kind of talk and the true end of the year reflection of me going through some of the neuroscience behind New Year's Eve and psychology informed questions that can help us reflect on our year and actually get something out of it. And so I'm just going to bring up some content that I found that I'm using to help guide us today through today's episode. But pretty much everything is divided into different topics. So the questions that we're going to reflect on are broken down into things like love, relationships, habits, growth, things of that nature. And then you can use these questions to either reflect yourself when you have time, or you can come back and reflect and do this with a partner or your husband or your wife or sister, brother, roommate, whatever it is that you would like to share these things with and like get to know them better and just see how the two of you have grown together throughout the year. So that's what we're really going to think on and work on today. And as you've heard in past episodes, I am not big into New Year's resolutions necessarily. I'm not a believer in all of that kind of hype, and I don't really believe in telling people that they're not good enough already and therefore they need to change everything it is that's about everything about themselves in order to be, more palatable for whoever is trying to consume them, I guess, or be in their space. I don't really believe in that. I think people need to be more authentic and true to who they are. And when you can find a way to do that, you'll be able to live in alignment. You'll be able to live with purpose. You'll be able to feel fulfilled, even when there's setbacks going on in your life. And even when maybe you haven't gotten to a place that you're proud of yet, but you're still willing to work on yourself because you love yourself, that kind of a thing. When you're being true to who you are, things fall into place better. So that's usually what I try and promote for New Year's Eve resolutions is, are you living an authentic life? Are you living an authentic life? And if not, what can you do now to change that path, change course, pivot, get you in a place where you feel more aligned with who it is you really are and what it is you really want? And I'm sorry for the YouTubers that might be watching. We're still in a little bit of a messy situation with our video settings right now. I'm trying to avoid the sunlight, so we may need to adjust. We may need to adjust mid-video, but we're going to try not to. Okay, so we're going to dive right in. Let's get to it. Let's get to these questions. There's a lot of them that this particular content creator provided. I am not going to take the time to go through every single question because that'll be like a 5-hour long episode, and Lord knows I ain't got the time to edit this. But I thought we could go through a few of them. I would ask the question and then I would answer it for myself. 100% honest right here. I have not prepared the answers. I have casually looked at this post and I saved it and like sent it to myself so that way I would remember to come back and reflect on this. But that's my plan for today. We're going to go through and just reflect together. And I would love to hear your answers. So if we're going along and you have a response or you have a different opinion about what your answer would be to that question, feel free to, send me a note, send me a DM, write a comment directly at the bottom of the YouTube video, write a comment on the Instagram pages or on Spotify and Apple. Leave a review. Let me know what you guys think of these kinds of episodes, and let's turn this into a conversation, because I think that's one of the weirdest things, right, about doing a solo podcast is I feel like I'm talking into the void constantly. I'm already doing the great millennial career crisis spiral in my 30s now, and that's not only terrifying and definitely feels lonesome, but talking on a podcast every single week with no one talking back to you can be weird. It is weird. Anyway, let's dive in. Let's get into it. So today's topic is brought to you by Dr. Nawal Mustafa. I hope I'm saying that right. And if I'm not, I apologize. But Dr. Nawal Mustafa, she has a clinical neuropsychology PhD and is based in Vancouver. And she's got over 1 million followers, but she's absolutely gorgeous, completely brilliant. I have loved her content for a long, long time, and I've been following her. She often posts content related to your cognitive functions, how to use a helpful reframe for issues that might be coming up or mindsets that you might be struggling with. She does a lot with emotional regulation and explaining what that looks like and how that process works inside of your brain too. She uses a lot of like neuropsychology backed data to explain problems you might be having or things you might be feeling. And she's been posting a lot recently about how to find your purpose. What does purpose actually mean to you? And how to not worry if you don't feel like you have a lot of purpose in your life right now. And her encouragement, again, I'm paraphrasing because she has a lot of content. You guys should, I will link her in the description box of all the show notes and stuff here so you can find her and follow along. But truly brilliant, really smart, lots and lots of data-backed information. And so I love when she talks about self-care and when she talks about her own personal journey and helping you better understand who you are as a human. And she never makes you feel like just because you didn't understand what your problem was, that you're a bad person or you're a stupid person or anything like that. So I've really enjoyed her content. And as some of you may know, I did originally study psychology at the University of Mississippi, and my first job, quote unquote, my first career plan that I thought I was going to follow was clinical psychology and getting a PhD. And I wanted to go work at the VA hospitals because I wanted to help veterans and active duty service members and stuff like that and their families. That did not come to fruition, but I have a soft spot in my heart for anyone that's in neuropsychology, neuropsychopharmacology programs, anything like that. Just love, 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 love data-backed content. It's good stuff. But she posted something that says, if you are reflecting on your year, start here. This is a psychology-informed set of questions to better understand your year. And so you can just go through the questions. The first topic is meaning, purpose, and life direction, growth, learning, and change, habits, lifestyle, and self-care, gratitude, joy, and meaningful moments, challenges, resilience, and lessons learned, love and romantic life, social connections and impact, future orientation, and intentions. And then the last slide she has there is connection questions for a partner or a friend. So up to you guys how you want to use this. I will link this particular post so that way you can see it and read all of the questions yourself. But I thought we could just go through a few of them and I would answer my own, and I would love to hear you guys too. So if any of you have a different answer or if you appreciate the answer or agree, whatever, let me know. But yeah, add some comments and we'll dive in here. The first topics are meaning, purpose, and life direction. So she's got 5 questions here. I'm just going to maybe do 2 of them per section and see how that goes. So number 1, what moments this year made me feel most like myself? Moments this year that made me feel most like myself. My immediate response, the immediate vision I had in my head to answer that question were the concerts. So when I went to see Beyonce with my college roommate, Maya, and when I went to Puerto Rico to see Bad Bunny at his residency with my friend Vidisha, I do love live music. I like experiences, right? The older I get, the more money I spend on experiences rather than just things, buying a bunch of stuff for the sake of stuff. I would rather have the memories. And so those are 2 artists that I have loved for a very, very long time. I have been to multiple Bad Bunny concerts, multiple Beyonce concerts, but Beyonce was special because I only see Beyonce with Maya. And so it's just a tradition we've held since college to do that together. And I love to dance. I really enjoy and like get into it. And I think I truly feel the most alive and most connected to who I am as a person when I just freely dance. Whether it's good dancing, bad dancing, silly, twerking, whatever. Vidisha, one of her I believe it was her second or her first episode, maybe. I can't remember. But on one of the episodes with my friend Vidisha, we talked about, I had just gone to the Megan Thee Stallion concert, and I went on stage at Megan Thee Stallion to dance, and I got called out. Don't worry, did not get paid, nothing like that. But her Memphis show, I was in the pit with Maya and Maya's sister and her friend, and Megan was pointing to people to bring them up on stage to twerk for her. And so I got up on stage and did that, which was crazy. But I had put that on my bucket list. That was on my 2023 vision board. So I was able to mark off one thing before I die, which was to twerk with Megan Thee Stallion. But now I've changed it to say, I hope I can interview Megan Thee Stallion on the podcast and we'll get to twerk together again someday. She won't remember it, but I will for the rest of my life. So I think what moments this year made me feel most like myself. I think that, anytime that I'm actually dancing, having a good time and dancing, that feels like me, truly me. So second question, in 2026, how do I want to live in a way that feels more aligned with who I am becoming? So in 2026, I know that I need to start branching out for the show a bit more. I need to post more often. I need to put up content not only on the podcast page, but on my personal page that shows off who I am. And that's been something I've actually struggled with this show. Internally, I don't know if you guys have noticed it or not, but internally, I feel like I am still so used to the lifestyle where I wasn't supposed to have a public-facing image. I wasn't supposed to say things. I wasn't supposed to present myself. And so what you put out there was monitored and whatnot. And I thought by leaving the Bureau that that feeling would stop, or that I wouldn't be quite as worried about it. And the truth is that I definitely still fear those things, and with good reason. I have had the Bureau reach out to me about a post that I had done once, and they asked for some changes, and I agreed, but I'm not a good enough editor, so I just took it down, right? I didn't try and repost it with something different because I don't have the time. And I've had people report things to my current job role that apparently upset people. And so after those two incidences, what few steps I had taken forward to be honest about who I am and what I enjoy about myself, what I like about myself, what I'm proud of, what I've experienced, having those things be told to me that I either need to take them down or I need to block people or remove people from being able to see what I'm doing. The two steps forward that I thought I had taken when those things happened, immediately took like a mile back. It's kind of like, I thought I would feel better than this by now, but I don't. So it's just tough. It's a really weird line to walk where I can't engage a community. I can't build a community of wanderers. I can't find people that mesh with who I am unless I share me. And I can't really share without apparently upsetting people. And so it's one of those weird things where I need to figure out how to live in 2026 in a way that shows me, my story, what I'm about, what my mission is. And I want my personal page. The podcast page is its own branding. It's got its own messaging, the whole Wanderers are always welcome thing. But the Amanda Powers branding, I want it to come off more like an internet bestie, an internet auntie. I'm here to teach you how to take your life seriously, but not yourself. Because that's a short summary of how I view my own life, like things that I have done. I took my life very seriously. I was a serious child. I was a creative and sing-songy child. Imagine, what's that show? New Girl? Yeah, New Girl, the character Jessica Day. I respond so much to her character because if Jessica Day was a 4-year-old, that would have been me, right? Singing and dancing and wearing a lot of color and goofing off and whatever, but being serious and wanting everybody to get along and being kind and always looking out for stuff. As an adult, an 18-plus-year-old person, I became very serious very quickly. And the career I chose was very serious and intense. And so I realized that I made choices throughout my life that were serious. I took my life's choices seriously. And I think that's why I struggled so hard with the identity loss in my 30s, was just because I had built myself up into this person and I had taken myself maybe a little bit too seriously. And so I want my 2026 image, my 2026 message to be, I'm here to help you take your life seriously because your choices do matter. It's how you pick a path. It's how you find answers. It's how you learn how to grow or not grow. That's your choice. But I want you to take your life seriously, but not yourself. So that's kind of who I want to become a bit more in 2026. That's the message I want to try and get across more. That's why I bought different equipment for the podcast, was because I'm trying to make sure that like I have a better phone now, a better camera. I'm trying to learn how to take better pictures, all this other shit, because I'm trying to align. That's a serious life choice. But the content that I will film or I will post, it's not serious. Like the other day I posted a video of my nephew and he's like sighing, and he's just in his diaper. But he's like, and I wrote, point of view, you've just unbuttoned your pants after Christmas dinner. Like dumb stuff like that. It's not the life choice that I took seriously, was to agree to go on a trip with him and take care of him, and a trip that I would have otherwise never been on. You see what I mean? Does that make sense? All right, we're going to move on to topic 2, growth, learning, and change. So the first question in this topic group is, what did I push myself to try this year that ended up being good for me? So earlier this year, in January of 2025, I started to have that feeling that I needed to move home. I needed to save money. I was never going to get the podcast off the ground if I was still living in a lot of debt. The majority of that was from student loans and stuff. And so I was able to pay off the student loans, but I kind of still had this feeling in me that was like, we're spending so much money on the show, trying to book guests and doing PR and the softwares and all these other different things. The recording in person is much more expensive. It's fine if you're doing it full time and you get paid by advertisers, or you get paid to be an affiliate, or you have codes or links that people are using and things like that, but I don't have anything like that. And so everything that I'm putting into the show right now, it's all on me. And I'm not complaining about that. I openly chose this stupid expensive hobby, idiot. But I think I pushed myself to simplify. I left a really cool town with a bunch of friends in it, and I moved home. I moved to where my parents are. I moved closer to my grandparents and my family and my brother and sister-in-law and stuff. And that was tough and uncomfortable. 1, because moving sucks. Yeah. But 2, it was just another reflection on myself of, I've already shed so much of my old self, my old life. I thought moving to Nashville would help me kind of start over, and it did, for sure. It was a good jumping off point, but it wasn't the final destination. I knew deep down it wasn't. And so I think it was really good for me to listen to my intuition and actually follow through on it, knowing that I needed to move home to help my parents a bit more, to save money more, to be a better aunt for my nephew and stuff. But more than anything, especially because of episode 112, the one that came out right before this, I talked a lot about, my grandmother and my grandparents. They're older, they're sick, they're having tough times. And this is a time in my life where if I lived further away, I would never get this time back. There's absolutely no way to replicate any of the investment or moments that I've had with my grandparents since moving here. It's, I think, more so a minor sacrifice on my social life, but it's Xing my familial wealth, my relationship wealth, because I know that I spent justly here. It was the right investment to make in terms of my relationship investments. Now, will that change someday? Will I move somewhere else? Will I pass this up and try something different? Absolutely. But the pressure timeline to come up with the next best thing isn't there anymore. So I think that's kind of what was most important for me. Okay, question number 2. Did anything shift in my mindset this year that I'm really glad about? I think this year was interesting for the podcast and stuff, for my personal self, because there were lots of moments where I kind of thought, I really don't know if what I'm providing is actually helping anybody. Every now and then somebody would reach out and they would say something, but this year felt a little more consistent. So we have a consistent rate of listeners. We have a consistent rate of new subscribers. It's steady versus looking really kind of jagged a lot. So I think we're building more of a core listenership, and I think that that's really good. So that kind of reinforced the mindset that what I'm saying isn't helpful, or what I'm saying isn't worthwhile, or this content you keep putting out there, lady, isn't useful. And that's not true at all. So I would say the mindset shift that what I have to offer is worthwhile is starting to change. This was a year where I had more of the guests or previous guests respond back with a lot of positivity. So if there was a return episode or email exchange that was outside of normal guest booking and stuff, they were just so receptive and positive and willing to help me. And I think that reinforced more of my and I don't know if it's sad to say self-worth, but just that the vindication, I guess, the vindication that I could be someone in this space. I could be a person in the self-development world. I could be that, former FBI analyst turned amateur yapper. I wrote that mostly as a joke in my Instagram bio, but I really believe that. An amateur yapper, she's learning how to talk and she must talk a whole lot because she's put out, 113 episodes now. Oh, it's a weird shift. I don't know that I necessarily noticed that shift happening until I started to think about it now. But the first, year and a half, I'm getting, feedback from my friends, from the listeners that I know that are there every week. But this year was interesting to get feedback or positive comments directly from the guests. So people that I have never met, most of the time people I've never met in my life, or first time meeting them in person-ish, via virtual interview. And so that I think was the most rewarding of a mindset shift. Was this is beyond just listeners, other people that are in this space, that are in these industries that help with self-development. They're giving you positive feedback. That's good, right? I may not have the degree or the proper education or whatever. I don't have a team behind me the way UJ Shetty, Mel Robbins, Eddie Pinero, all these other different people might have, but I can do this. I can do this, and people enjoy being here. And that's really what should matter at the end of the day. All right, so topic number 3. Habits, lifestyle, and self-care. Which habits or routines actually supported my well-being this year? I would say the habits that really supported my well-being this year were my supplements. My parents and I started taking new supplements after I interviewed Mike Teku. He is the founder and owner of Momentum Shake. And so that is the longevity protein that I've been taking along with my parents. It's supposed to be really good and help with cellular renewal and improving your mitochondria inside of your cells, so that way they can, continue to act like the powerhouses that they are and clean out your body and help your organs and cells essentially regulate themselves and clean and get rid of things. And so one of the major reasons you develop so many of these different common comorbidity type diseases as you get older is because your cells don't function the way that they're supposed to. And so if you're trying to help with anti-aging, just the sheer fact of getting older is the breakdown of your cells, of your neurons, of your tissues. One of the ways to mitigate some of that breakdown is to take these particular supplements. And so he put the top 20 vitamins, minerals, nutrients, things that you need for your body to truly function, that we have the biggest gaps with based on our diet and things like that. And he added 20 grams of protein on top of it. And it's clean, third-party tested, highly, highly easy to drink and easy to mix in with different foods or yogurt or milks, whatever liquid you want. And it's delicious. So I'm really grateful for that. And I'm really glad that I got my parents to start eating it too and drinking it, because it actually forces them to get protein in for their breakfast. My parents are so funny. They love waking up and having coffee and reading the news together or to each other. But then that's often it. Unless there's a good reason or more people around, they don't really eat breakfast all the time. So getting these shakes in was a great way for them to get protein. And so I love that. I also switched I was buying like 10 or 15 different vitamins on top of that. And by taking those shakes and reducing my vitamin intake to one supplement in particular, I switched over to the IM8 supplement, literally the letter I, the letter M, the number 8, IM8. And it's an amazing supplement as well. It's an all-in-one daily supplement. It was co-founded by David Beckham and trusted by world-renowned athletes, developed by experts from the Mayo Clinic and NASA. Really just helps you totally transform your daily routine and delivers 92 nutrient-rich ingredients into one drink. It's been proven to boost your energy, improve digestion, and support overall wellness. And so they also, stand by improving your mental and physical performance with these longevity supplements. And so I've absolutely loved them. And a few of my other guests have also been taking them. So when I interviewed Todd Anderson and his wife, Katie Hoff, they both take it as well. And I'm pretty sure Katie Hoff and her podcast co-host, I think they have a discount code. If I can find that, I'll send it to you guys. I don't have a discount code, but I can link it for you guys if you want to check it out. But essentially, you get more energy, you have a healthier gut, you sleep better, you perform sharper, and all around, even though I'm not a pro athlete, I want the longevity benefits. I have seen what can happen to you when you don't take care of your health in your 30s. What you do in your 30s compounds into your 40s, and what you do in your 40s compounds into your 50s, and so on and so forth. So I think taking care of myself now, spending a little bit more on supplements, spending a little bit more on the things that actually go into my body will benefit me now compared to what might happen later if I don't take care of myself now. So I would say that those habits, consolidating what I was taking and doing something that is concentrated with the supplements that are actually useful for cellular renewal and mitochondria energy and stuff like that. That's what I focused on. So that was really good. Question number 2, what self-care did I avoid, delay, or minimize even though I needed it? So I've traveled a lot this year for various reasons, and I'm including the travel back and forth to Nashville to film, and I haven't really been in this house consistently. Even when I'm here, I'm spending half the time either with my grandparents or my grandmother or my parents. So I have definitely minimized or delayed working out. Sometimes the only thing I do to work out is walk my dog for that day, and I know that that's bad. Don't come for me, but I'm in a small town, so there's not a lot of like group fitness type classes. There are gyms around here, so that's one thing I probably need to stop avoiding is like I need to join a local gym here. But the biggest thing for me was I loved living in West Nashville because I could just drive straight to Carbon Performance Gym, and they had classes, and they had a 24-hour session, and they had a sauna, and they had the ice plunges and stuff, and cold plunges and open gym and whatever, and I loved it. That place was pristine. I miss that gym so much, but I don't have anything like that. But the reason I loved it so much was because it was 5-minute drive. Everything that I'm looking for or would want is 15 minutes or more. The next largest town is a college town called Johnson City because they have East ETSU there, but that's 30 minutes from where I live. And if you think about it, 30 minutes there for an hour workout and 30 minutes back, that's a 2-hour round trip. It's not really feasible. So I have my Peloton and some weights down in my basement, and I do that still. I'd say I probably do that twice a week instead of 4 times a week, which is probably really what I should be doing, but I haven't done it. And especially this winter, and we spent the last month in the hospital with my grandma, I have not done it. And I've also not found a chiropractor. I know I need to find a new one here. I had a friend who recommended someone, and I just haven't called them. I haven't set up getting the first appointment in with a new doctor. That's what you need, because once you're in the system, you can easily make a second or a follow-up and get onto a routine. But yeah, I need to pick a gym. I need to get back on the chiropractic stuff. I've been delaying it. I don't feel bad right now, but I know that over time it will get worse and that my back will give out and surprise me, and I don't want that to happen. So I need to get on my shit for those. Topic number 3, gratitude, joys, and meaningful moments. Who added lightness or comfort to my life in ways I didn't expect? Oh, my first thought obviously is straight to my nephew. He hadn't done shit. He was just born. He just exists. But I think that has brought me a lot of lightness, or at least comfort and fun, because he's so sweet and funny, and he's 6 months now. So his personality is really starting to come out. He's starting to do the laughing fits. I think next month he'll probably get his first set of teeth, start to see teeth. And he's so silly. And I can't wait for him to get a little bit older so that way he can be silly with Cha-Cha. I don't know if I've ever explained that on this podcast or not, but a long time ago, well, not that long ago, I guess. She turned 2, so she's 2.5. My friend Lindsay had a daughter, and we've known each other since high school. And one day, my friend Morgan and Lindsay and I were all hanging out, and Morgan was talking about, I want to be called Aunt Momo. People call her Momo anyway. So Momo made sense for Lindsay's daughter's nickname for her. And I didn't have one yet, and my parents were still figuring out their names. But Lindsay was like, well, what do you want to be called? And I didn't know. I didn't really have one yet. And we were driving away and in separate cars, and Morgan and I were driving away from Lindsay's house, and Morgan pulls up next to me and she sees me dancing, and I'm most likely dancing to something reggaeton, some Bad Bunny, Daddy Yankee, Nicky Jam song. And she texts the group and she goes, "You need to be on Cha-Cha. I just saw you in your car dancing." And I was like, oh my God, that's perfect. That makes a lot of sense because I do. I love to dance. I love to sing and be silly. So I can't wait for Bond to, tell his mom and dad, I want to go to Cha-Cha's house, or, for him to be excited to see you, right? To be the fun auntie, and you get to enter the room and they're like, oh, it sounds so stupid, but he's not even my kid, right? Like, why would I care? But that's how I feel about all my friends' kids. My friend Madison, she's got a beautiful little girl and a young son. I met the daughter, but I have not had the chance to meet her son yet. But I know that they would probably say the same thing, Cha-Cha or Miss Amanda or something like that. But I have so many friends, from college or high school now who've got kids, and that's my name is Cha-Cha. So I think the comfort that came into my life that I didn't expect was I am Cha-Cha. I am officially Cha-Cha now. And so, it'll just be fun. It's been nice to, daydream about what that'll be like to be the fun auntie. All right. What am I grateful for now that I might have taken for granted earlier in the year? I guess I don't know if this is really the right answer, but I'm really grateful for my family, right? Like I think I've been very lucky to have such a supportive family system my whole life, and I never expected a safety net to be there, but I lived my life. I tried to live my life and do things as if it wasn't, right? I need to live and go and try things and take risks and learn how to do something for myself in case they're not there someday, or this help won't be here someday. There were always moments throughout my life, 20s and even now, that I think I can do this, but I'm so glad that my mom was here to help, or I'm so glad that my dad did this, or he helped me save this, or he helped me figure out this problem with my car, or this problem with my house, or this problem with my finances, or designed something for me or whatever. And I'm grateful for the time that I've had with them. A lot of people don't want to be near their family that much, and I can understand why. Family can drive you crazy. Family can really add all kinds of chaos or stress to your life. And I've just been really lucky where the year that I needed them the most, then the year that I needed the most support to figure out who I am and what I want to do, where to reinvest things, they were willing to do that. They were willing to let me move here and start over. And so I'm sure there were plenty of times, little moments where I did take their generosity for granted, and I try not to. I try to be a good daughter and, say thank you and show my appreciation as things come up. But that's probably the closest thing that I can think of. I'm grateful now that I might have taken for granted earlier in the year. Yeah, I'd say my family, and then the friends that still check in on you, right? The years can go by, or you move far away or anything like that, and they still want to talk to you. They still want to invest in you. They're still telling you they're proud of you. They're still supporting you even from afar. That's your lifeline. Those are your people. Those are the people you want to keep in your life. Those are the people you should focus on. So I'm really, really grateful for that. All right, next topic: challenges, resilience, and lessons learned. When things got stressful, how did I cope? And what did I learn about myself? I think the stress has kind of gone up and down at different points. But the first thing I really thought of was when I broke my leg in April. My parents do their annual anniversary trip on their own. They do typically 3 weeks to 4 weeks in Europe. That's what they've done the last several years in April and May. And they weren't even gone 48 hours. And I broke my leg in my backyard trying to take care of my dogs, or Dirks and Dolly. And when things got stressful, how did I cope? I definitely cried. Screamed a lot, had a lot of negative self-talk in those moments. There were a couple of moments over the summer too where I would interview guests and then just go to my car and have a breakdown, and that wasn't necessarily the guest's fault, but like the topics were just, they were bringing up tough things for me that I really didn't realize were buried, or I didn't really realize were right under the surface, and all they needed was just a good little like tick 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 tick. And then the ice, I'm thinking of like when glass cracks and it spreads, like it just, there were moments like that. And how did I cope? Well, I think sometimes you just have to have the good cry. You've got to have that moment of sitting in the suck and wallowing for a minute. And the trick is to have the emotional capacity to allow yourself to feel that pain, to feel that stress, to feel that anxiety, to feel that depression. But you need the emotional capacity to also go, all right, we're done. We're not doing this. We're shutting off the valve. No more emotional chaos. We're turning it off. We're not falling for this. You need to be able to do that too. And I think the best way that I figured out how to cope was to let it out. If I had an idea, film myself, record it, get it out, journal it in a way. And then for the broken leg stuff, once I got off the crutches, I could rely on myself a bit more again. And so I didn't feel as antagonistic towards myself. When I first got hurt, I was angry and so disappointed in myself and fearful for the physical setbacks that were about to happen because of that lack of mobility. I took it really, really hard. And I did a specific episode about that. You can go back and scroll through there in May. Scarlett took a tumble in more ways than one. Physically, yes, and mentally for a minute. And I think that was really the best way that I learned how to cope, was just that I learned that I have the emotional capacity to feel pain and feel disappointment and feel that agony, insert cause, whatever it is. Doesn't have to be a broken bone, but I have the emotional capacity to feel deeply, pull myself out. I have the emotional capacity to not hate myself anymore so much about feeling what I feel. I've had strong emotions and strong feelings for so long, growing up and just feeling like a serious or intense child. And I used to hate that about myself because my quote unquote big feelings always made other people uncomfortable. And when that happens to you a lot, you then train yourself to think, okay, well, I should just shove them down, move them down. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to hear that. So I think this year was good that I learned that I can have those quote unquote big feelings, those quote unquote stressors, and still come out the other side, still come up with a solution, not let it consume me. Because you're allowed to feel terrible. You're allowed to not like a situation. But I think I proved to myself a couple times over this year that you used to identify being stuck. Not anymore. Now you're a girl that might be stuck, but you're a girl that is trying to get unstuck. And more than anything, that's really the whole point of this show, is to prove to you and to help the wanderers out there, the listeners out there, that this feeling is temporary, but I think it's temporary as long as you choose for it to be. You'll stay stuck as long as you tell yourself you're stuck, as long as you act stuck, if you give in to those feelings. But if you don't, and you have the emotional capacity to not succumb to those all-consuming feelings, you're going to find a way to get out. And I think that was important for me to know about myself this year, was that I am a person who will find a way out. I am a person who comes up with solutions. I am a person who's going to try everything she can to get better, be better, feel stronger, and to explore, Okay. In 2026, how do I want to approach challenges differently or more intentionally? I think in 2026, I want to approach challenges differently by honestly still working on my communication. I talk on a podcast, almost weekly, and just because I talk and I put out content doesn't necessarily make me an expert communicator and doesn't necessarily make me an expert listener either. And so I think I still need to practice active listening to build up that skill and to hopefully help me become a better interviewer. But also, sometimes there are challenges that aren't worth the fight, or there are challenges that are truly not my monkey, not my circus kind of a thing. And I need to stop trying to make everything my monkey just because I care about it or just because it irks me. Not every monkey needs to be mine. Not every monkey needs to be in my circus. I need to care about the monkeys that are already in my circus, right? Like, focus on those guys. They need my help the most, or they need my protection the most. They need my improvement the most. Whatever. Does that make sense, right? All of that just boils right back down into that whole Mel Robbins let them theory thing. And I think that that's really how I want to approach the challenges that I've had lately that keep being brought up to me as a problem that I have. And so it's kind of like, all right, if you don't want help with that, not my monkey, not my circus. So I think that'll help a lot if I just don't approach a challenge that's truly not really a challenge for me. That's not really my problem. If that's not really my problem, kind of letting it go and letting it be will make my life easier. And then if that person does want help, they know where to find me. And I will be more than willing to help. But I think it's one of those where if it's really not my actual challenge, don't try and turn it into my challenge, if that makes sense. All right. Love and romantic life. Insert huge round of laughter here. Okay. If I was looking for love, what felt hopeful and what felt discouraging? I wasn't really looking for love this year. I did go on a couple of dates back in like February, March, but those were set up dates that my friend Lindsay set me up with. And the person she set me up with, perfectly kind, nice, I'm sure would be the right match for someone else. It wasn't, I think I had a wall up because I already knew I was moving or knew I needed to move. So I didn't feel like I could build a life with someone in a city that I'm not going to be a part of. So I think I mentally had a little bit of a wall up, but I have nothing bad to say about that person in particular. What felt hopeful and what felt discouraging? I guess hopeful was that, quite honestly, I don't really have anything hopeful to say. I wish I did. I wish I could give you something more positive, but I didn't look that hard for love right now, and I'm not. It wasn't a super high priority for me, and I think part of that was because I was so invested in my job and my family and trying to get the podcast off the ground. So I only went on those 2 dates the entire time. It was kind of seeing someone casually, but that never went further than casual. And that was what it was always going to be. And so I think I realized that the consistency that I was seeing the casual person was nice. So it felt, I guess that's the closest thing to hopeful I really had, was that I realized that I appreciated that consistency and that I would probably prefer a specific exclusive relationship in the future. But the discouraging part was just that I didn't really feel like I was connecting with anyone in Nashville to get that, right? No one that I was connecting with that wanted the same things that I wanted. And so it feels discouraging the older you get, because you're watching yourself go, I'm amazing. Like, I know I'm the whole package. And you tell yourself in the mirror all these things like, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm funny, I'm talented, I do all these cool things, I travel to all these places, I pay my own bills, I'm independent, I'm thing after thing after thing. And yeah, I get that. But trusting your timeline is one of the most difficult things you can accept or do. And learning to trust your timeline, grieve the timeline you thought you would have while accepting the timeline you actually have, is really hard to do simultaneously. And so I think looking for love was so discouraging at the time that I didn't hold out a lot of hope. But I guess part of this year was reaffirmed to me that I am still attractive, right? Like, it just haven't found the right person where that matches up yet. So I'm on the lookout. I should probably try and figure out how to get back out there, but I don't know. I've had friends get divorced this year. I've had friends go through abusive relationships this year. I've had people not get a divorce but still have trouble with their marriage. And then I've had other friends that are amazing, goal setting, like wish I could be those people, dream people. And then I have a lot of other friends that are the fun aunties and they're living it up in their 30s and they're doing amazing. They might be making a little bit more money than me, so maybe that might help why they're a little bit happier, but I don't know. Love and romantic life right now are kind of for me, and I know part of that is my own choice, right? Because I'm not trying that hard. So I wish I had a better answer for you, but I really don't. I think focusing on myself, trying to improve my self-confidence and my fulfillment issues, right, that I've been struggling with in the timeline grief and the career grief and the just general millennial crises that I'm feeling right now seems to be a very common theme for a lot of people. But I think until I could be happy with the timeline that I'm on, trying to get into a relationship with someone else would not be very fruitful. So I'm open to love. I don't want the universe to think that I've completely closed off from it, but it would have to be someone who truly improves my life to like the nth degree. It would have to be someone that I would be willing to mesh timelines with, right? And when you become so independent and you become so self-sustaining, it's really hard to let go of your life and go, why would I let somebody walk all over this and come in here and annoy the shit out of me and turn it upside down? And I truly believe all those cliches that what is meant for me will not miss me, and what's right for me is around the corner. And I know that the right person is on their way, the same way that I'm on my way to them. But you can't rush the good stuff. All right, we got to get moving. Social connections and impact. Who did I feel most like myself around? I think for those, I felt most like myself with my friends. So when I go visit Stevie in Tampa and her family and her baby Gavin, and when I went to the concerts with Maya and Vidisha, when I saw some of my travel friends from Africa, they were all down in Nashville for a couple of days. So like I was back in Nashville at the same time to record some of the podcast stuff, and so I saw them. That was a lot of fun to hang out with them. Anytime I'd be at the gym with my friend Tashi, we would go to the CrossFit gyms in Nashville. And it's always fun to hang out with her and go get margaritas and tacos and stuff and catch up. So I always enjoyed that. And then I like interviewing people. I like doing that, face to face. I feel it's the closest thing I have felt to being aligned with whatever my future life is supposed to be like, is when I'm interviewing people. And when I'm sitting down in a studio talking to someone and trying to learn more about their life and their lessons and their experiences and what helps them feel fulfilled and find purpose with whatever it is that they might be doing right now. And so I'd say when I'm with my closest friends, when I'm with my family, when I'm with people that also enjoy experience together, not necessarily things. When I'm sitting across from someone who's not just there to get something out of me, they're there because they want to be there. They feel fully present. They're not just trying to use my energy to make themselves feel better, if that makes sense. Those are the people that I enjoy spending time with the most. All right, future orientation and intentions. What do I want to leave behind because it no longer fits who I am? I mean, that's a good question too. It's one of those where I know we've talked about this a little bit off and on throughout the show, that you have to appreciate your past to understand where you came from, but you have to know who you are right now to envision what your future could be like and to be willing to get there. And you have to shed old identities in order to create a new one and to pivot into a different person, to be, to flip that page, to read that next chapter, to build that future life. You have to let go of your old one. Because that's what it is. That's what's happening to you when everything feels like it's falling apart around you. It's because your new life is being created. Your old one must be destroyed. And so I don't know. I don't want to leave behind old parts of me. I don't want to leave behind old iterations of Amanda. So I wish there was a way that I could like encapsulate who they were. If there were moments, if there was a way to do like a shadow box, but a moment in time of who I was in those pivotal phases, those bigger transformation moments. If I could capture that somehow, I would love that. But, that's in a different space-time continuum. She exists somewhere else now, not here, not in this present moment. What do I want to leave behind because it no longer fits who I am? I guess I want to leave behind as much of the self-doubt as I can. In 2026, I want to leave behind the girl that thinks she can't do this. I want to leave behind the woman that's worried about what other people think. I want to leave behind the person who's terrified to take a risk on themselves, because my future self needs someone who's just as gung-ho, who's just as crazy about themselves, who's their own biggest fan. If I want to make my dream come true in 2026 or 2027, 2028, whatever it is, that's going to take somebody with a lot of gumption, with a lot of courage, and with a whole lot of delusional curiosity and creativity and willingness to try. So I need to leave behind the girl who doesn't care, the girl who's worried about other people's opinions, and the girl that thinks she can't. I can't take her with me. So I think that's what I need to leave behind, because it doesn't fit anymore. And you're right, it doesn't. So those are the categories: future orientation and intentions, social connections and impact, love and romantic life, challenges, resilience, and lessons learned, gratitude, joys, and meaningful moments, habits, lifestyle, and self-care, growth, learning, and change, meaning, purpose, and life direction. There are a lot more questions than what I talked about in this episode. So please click on the links. Go check them out if you want to read the rest of the questions. I will also put the questions into the blog. So on my website, you can follow along and read all of those actual questions from Dr. Mustafa. And fingers crossed, guys, maybe one day I can interview her. She's on Instagram as The Brain Coach. All one word, The Brain Coach. And you can follow along and find all of her content. Let me know what you think. She's super talented, obviously a really great content creator and a phenomenal psychologist to find ways to break down all of these big major topics and scientific data and research and things like that, and break it down and make it sound more consumable and relatable to people who maybe don't have that kind of background. So I absolutely love her stuff. But I would go through, read those questions. Let me know which questions resonate with you. Let me know what you've thought about my answers too. You can like, subscribe, leave a review, share this episode with a friend, ask your friends these questions. Let me know what answers you guys come up with. I would love to hear it. So leave a comment on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Can't wait to hear from you. You can follow me at Podcast for the Lost. All of my channels are Podcast for the Lost. You can also send me an email or send me questions you'd like for me to answer on a different episode at hello@podcastforthelost.com. And that's it. I can't wait to see you in 2026 and to grow more and better and faster, harder, stronger, whatever that saying is. I can't wait to see the growth that we're all going to have together as wanderers on this journey. So can't wait to see you in 2026, and hopefully we got some more good stuff coming down the line. And yeah, that's crazy. Oh my God, I'm going to see you next year. Okay, Amanda, don't be a dweeb. No, sorry, that's hard. I am a bit goofy at heart, so excuse me. No, that doesn't work either. Can't do a serious voice. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, leave a review. I'll catch you later. And remember, wanderers are always welcome.